save big on that monthly electric bill. I did it, and within seconds, they measured my roof and calculated my savings. It's very impressive. Go to HarmonSolar.com and give it a try yourself. That's HarmonSolar.com.
AZ Preps 365, your source for all the news, info, highlights, and more. Athlete news and interviews. Talk with coaches. Keep you up to date with the changes, moves, upcoming events, and more. AZ Preps 365, Arizona's ultimate prep sports show. If you miss a minute, you miss a lot. AZ Preps 365, Saturday mornings 8 till 10 on 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic, and always on at 1580thefanatic.com.
It's fall football season, and Kasai Japanese Steakhouse is doubling down. Now with 2 Valley locations. When it comes to Asian cuisine, no one does it better and more authentic than Kasai, where talented Teppan chefs create the food, the fire, and the fun of teppanyaki. Kasai Japanese Steakhouse isn't just dinner, it's dinnertainment. A memorable dining experience where a delicious 7-course meal is prepared right at your table with flair. It's a perfect choice for celebrations, date nights, or a night on the town. Choose from over 30 different items and combinations of teppanyaki, Asian fusion, and innovative sushi. Happy hour is always on fire and offered daily with specials on their Asian-inspired comfort food like Korean steak tacos, Mongolian barbecue ribs, and signature Wagyu beef sliders. Always a memorable dinner, or catch the game and a bite at the bar at Kasai. Now with 2 locations, Scottsdale Road in Thunderbird and in Peoria at the 101 in Northern. Go to KasaiTeppan.com. That's KASAI Teppan.com, or search Kasai on your mobile phone.
In most countries of the world, Porte means door. United Porte Custom Doors, located in the Scottsdale Airport Design District, is now open with over 40,000 European doors, all in stock, ready for delivery, and at wholesale prices. Designers, contractors, builders, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Porte, Porte. Stop by to see and feel the quality at United Porte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257 CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
And welcome back to Thursday. Beat the Book, that's the show. It's a football Thursday, that's the day. And we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, obviously. I'm Keon Rose. Alongside me is our betting expert, Dylan Cohen. We are broadcasting live from the Harmon Solar Studios in sunny uptown Scottsdale. Today on the show, a lot was going on in the NBA last night. I mean, there were some big games, monster performances. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Victor Wembanyama. We will talk about them and so many more things. You guys are on the text line, by the way, 888-368-1580. We've got Thursday Night Football talk coming up. So, we'd like to get your bets. What are you going to do tonight to try and make yourself a little bit of money? We'll try and give you some tips and pointers as well, but that's how you interact with the show. But before we get to any and all of those things, Dylan, who powers the show?
That would be Sport Trade. And if you have not already, go ahead and download Sport Trade on your smartphone. Get your account set up. Use promo code 1580 to take advantage of their 10% cashback promotion on new account signups. And of course, Sport Trade CEO Alex Kane will be back with us tomorrow to go over the next Sport Trade weekly implied probability contest. Yes, this is still going to be happening, even though the Arizona Cardinals are on a bye week this week. So the contest will be centered around the Chiefs and the Bills game, and you're going to be looking to try and submit what you think is going to be the win probability for the Kansas City Chiefs at halftime against their game against the Buffalo Bills. So if you're someone that thinks the Chiefs are going to dominate, they're going to win, then you're probably going to want to send in a pretty high win probability. If you're someone that thinks the Bills got it, then maybe you're going to go a little bit higher on the Bills. But either way,
you've got to kind of take into account some things. Like the Chiefs have been winning games, but the halftime numbers for them over the last however many weeks, it's been up and down. It hasn't necessarily been a reliable number. So you really have to think about what are the Chiefs going to look like at halftime of this game. That's very important.
Because it's very common to get two different versions of the Kansas City Chiefs.
And many times in the same game.
Oh yeah. That first half, it won't be the Super Bowl champion winning Kansas City Chiefs. It'll be just some phony.
Yeah. Or some version of the team that looked like the Alex Smith Chiefs more than the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs. And then, I don't know, Patrick Mahomes wakes up, realizes that he's Patrick Mahomes at some point in the third quarter, and then that game is over. But before then, you have to guess what the win probability will look like at that point. And I think that that's going to be really fun.
So do not send us your guesses for this yet. Make sure to hold those back until Alex joins us tomorrow to go over the rules. And at that point, you can go ahead and send in your guesses, and we'll take those all the way up until kickoff of that game on Sunday. But now that we've got that out of the way, yesterday I tried to do something on this show that I haven't exactly done before. If you're familiar with this program, you know that there is a Beat the Book website that I am periodically posting different bets that you can make on any given day within, whatever sports we have going on. Today's a bit of a lighter day. I did not post anything. Yesterday was a little bit busy, couldn't quite get to it between the podcast and some other meetings that I had going on. So for today, it's going to be similar deal. There isn't a post, but we will have some bets that I will be announcing throughout today's show. Yesterday, I tried putting together like a 4-leg parlay, basically my version of the long shot parlay of the day, which I normally would include with that post online. And this was a parlay where I was trying to combine different guys to score 30 or more points in the NBA last night. And what I was trying to do was I was trying to find a group of 4 guys that aren't necessarily like the lead scorer on their team, but just 4 guys that, have the potential to go off. And that's usually where if you can find 3 or 4 of those, you can put them all together and they all hit. I mean, you're looking at a payout that's typically north of 60 to 1. I try and find 3 or 4 that'll pay out maybe like 100 to 1 or more. And again, I mean, this is like my degenerate, betting brain that's doing this. This isn't like the betting expert, trying to make a smart bet. So I want to be very upfront.
Yeah, that's why we call it the long shot parlay. It is a long shot.
And it's almost more entertainment than it is.
It is.
I'm
fun.
betting this to win.
It's fun to play it, and you obviously want to win, especially if you get halfway home and say 2 of those legs hit early, then you're like, oh well, now hold on, I would really now I'm very invested. I want this to go, but there is like this aspect of it where it's just entertaining to see if it'll actually work. And last night we were close in some aspects. We were not so close in others.
It's funny the way that it played out. The 4 guys that I had, recommended putting together on a 4-leg parlay to get 30 or more points were Franz Wagner on the Orlando Magic, Karl Anthony Towns on the New York Knicks, James Harden on the Los Angeles Clippers, and then Anthony Edwards on the Minnesota Timberwolves. So Franz Wagner's game was first, and he goes off like in the first half. I think he had maybe like 19 points at halftime. He had 27 points by the end of the third quarter. He was looking fantastic. Karl Anthony Towns' game was next. He was doing pretty good in the first half, had 15 at halftime. James Harden's game starts. He gets 12 points in the first quarter. So there's this like very narrow window where I'm being offered a cash out on this bet. It's much more than what my wager was. So there was a chance to take your money and run. But with these kinds of plays, that's not really what you have in mind. You want to see this through. And obviously in that moment, this thing was looking really good. So, from there, that's where things start to crash and burn a little bit. Karl Anthony Towns did come through. He was the only guy that had over 30. Man, Franz Wagner, he still hurts me today.
Yeah, Wagner's making me physically ill with the 29 points. He just was missing from the game. They didn't put him back in until very late. Why was he on the bench so long? Who can say? I don't even know why. Like they were up, I guess, but still, it wasn't. They weren't. It wasn't so crazy that he needed to be out of the game that long, and then he's just sat there at 27 points for most of the second half.
Yeah, and I mean, with 29 points, he had about 4 different looks at the basket, few wide open layups, a couple open jumpers. Nothing was going in. It was insanely frustrating. And as soon as he went down, then it was kind of like, all right, this thing is just falling apart.
Yeah, well, we don't have to worry about the rest of it. Swazman said, I took your 4-leg parlay for 20 points instead of 30 points or more. And James Harden was my only loss out of the 4.
No.
The other 3 scored more than 20 points. So yeah, I mean,
you know what's terrible about that? James Harden didn't even get to play in the fourth quarter, and it wasn't due to fatigue. It wasn't due to fouls. Like Ty Lue just like he does this sometimes. This is his coaching style. He gets frustrated with the starting unit and he goes, I'm benching you.
All of you, all 5
you.
of you.
Yep.
Nobody's stepping out onto the floor. And that's why James Harden got himself to 19.
Dude, after 12 in the first quarter, I feel for that bet.
I feel for you, Swazman, because that should have hit. Pickle D says Wagner missing the mark the way he did was sickening.
It was gross.
And where the hell did Harden go in that game? Yeah, that's what we're describing here. Harden didn't go anywhere bad in the first half. In the second half, he was doing all right too. But Ty Lue benched everybody in the fourth, and that was it.
Well, and ironically, that bench unit actually like fought back from like a 16-point deficit. They cut it to like 4. But even then, Tyler's like, no, this starting unit, they're not coming in.
No, they're not coming back. It's not a wave the white flag thing. It's a punishment thing. If you're not going to play like your heart's in this, that's fine. You can do that. You can watch the backups get it done. If they get it done, good. If they don't, that's your fault because you didn't play hard enough to stay out on the floor. That's just how he is. But man, if you're a better, that hurts. It's gotta hurt. It hurt me.
I feel a little validated today. I mean, obviously not, getting, 3 of those guys right. That sucks. But you look across the league yesterday, you see all these really crazy stat lines that came out. And, it wasn't crazy to think that there were going to be 4 guys, maybe a good amount of them that are kind of more under the radar players that were going to turn around and just have like really big games. Because these are the kinds of days where, you catch 2 to 4 of these on the same parlay together, and you're looking at a very big payout. So like where I'm getting at here is Victor Wembanyama scores 50 points yesterday. Jordan Poole scored 42 points yesterday.
Yeah.
He should have been on that ticket. That I feel bad about.
I mean, but was there a way to know? I mean, Poole is he reminds me a little bit of just the ups and downs of a game of Norm Powell a little bit, where it's like when he's on, it's just the guy's just not missing. And then when he's off, he could just disappear for entire quarters of a basketball game. I don't know what to make of Jordan Poole, except he's clearly talented. He can clearly play. He is playing out of his mind this season, but
you just don't get it like every single game. The consistency just isn't like totally there.
And that's what makes betting him just so frustrating.
Tricky. Really
I wouldn't put Jordan Poole in a parlay. I just don't trust him enough.
Well, so then, LeBron, 35-point triple-double. Giannis, 59 points. Cade Cunningham, 35 points. Jalen Williams, 31 points. Zach LaVine, 31 points. I mean, even
the 30-point club was out there.
It was out there. It was there. We didn't get the right members. So, I mean.
And then, of course, Wemby with the 58.
50.
Oh, 50.
50.
Sorry.
Giannis was one with
the
59.
Yeah.
But, Karl Anthony Towns finishes with 46. I mean, one of those guys was on there. But hey, our very own Josh Okogie, 25 points there. If someone had the foresight on that would have paid out a lot of money. Speaking of our Phoenix Suns, they did play a game last night against the Sacramento Kings. We had a pretty lengthy discussion about this yesterday, and it was kind of a weird time to try and craft betting strategies because there was just so much unknown about like who was actually going to be playing for the Suns yesterday. There was some doubt about Nurkic. There was, some questions about whether Bradley Beal was going to go. And then randomly out of nowhere, like Grayson Allen didn't end up playing. Beal didn't end up playing. Nurkic did end up playing. So it was just kind of a tangled mess that, I mean, up front, when you don't have the facts about who's going to be playing, and then you're trying to, figure out how you want to, kind of angle your bets and your strategy. I mean, that's just crucial news to like not have. So,
Yeah.
My thought was, hey, if we have Bradley Beal, if we don't have Nurkic, but we have Bradley Beal, I think we can be competitive in this.
I think NBA game time decisions are worse than NFL game time decisions. It feels like as a bettor, you have so much less time to react to that news that by the time you figure out, oh, that guy's just not playing, like you're just stuck. Like it almost is like you are just stuck with a bad, a parlay sometimes, depending on whether you're allowed to cash out with the injuries. Like if a player doesn't play, I have found with Hard Rock, you're stuck. Like if you bet on a guy and the guy doesn't play, that's just too bad.
So, I mean, normally they would at least like void your line. Like if the guy truly doesn't play like a single second, in a game, that's usually how most of those places handle it. But, like, for example, last night, if you were thinking that, it'd be smarter to take Devin Booker's assists because Bradley Beal's going to play and he's going to facilitate more. And then, you bet on that. And then all of a sudden Beal's not playing.
You're just stuck holding the bag.
You're completely stuck holding the bag. So, it does create scenarios like that. So in this case, Bradley Beal doesn't play. Grayson Allen doesn't play. We don't have KD. This was just a game where it was really difficult to match the talent that the Kings had on the floor. The Suns ended up losing 127-104. So it's our worst loss of the season. I don't think many of us are really, kind of concerned about it. I mean, it was clear that
I don't know that. Yeah, I mean, when you're that injured, you're missing obviously two of your stars. You're missing one very important player in Grayson Allen from your bench. Like you are just going to struggle. There's just no getting around that. I don't think the Suns are deep enough to survive three guys that you really rely on to play basketball at a high level. And almost no team is, by the way. Like, I don't think that that's just a Sun specific thing. You take, two stars off of any roster and then, their best bench guy, they're probably losing against that Kings team as well. On the text line, Pickle D said, I also took the Ford to score 20 in a separate parlay and added 6 other players to get 20 as well. Harden was the only one to miss. Man. Cost me $170. Man, I feel so bad for you because that really should have worked.
Like that game started with and Harden played the entire first quarter, which already is kind of deviating from, like the typical rotation that Tyronn Lue would normally use in the first quarter. He got to play the whole first quarter because he was Houston Harden. Like he could not miss. And, to go from...
I actually don't think the reason why the starters were struggling was Harden's fault. He just benched all of them anyway. And that really sucks. Golden Domer says, agree. Better to find a book that refunds if your guy doesn't play at all. Most do. And maybe Hard Rock does. And that was just my free bet, but it showed up as a missed pick on another bet that I made. So I have no idea what to make of them. I know
any book that doesn't void that's like criminal.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely.
Because obviously I only made the pick assuming the guy was going to play.
Right. No, I mean that's just like
no, I'm gonna have to double check
logic.
that to make sure I'm not slandering Hard Rock, by the way. That's just but I saw that pop up in my little thing and I was like, well, that wasn't a miss. The guy didn't. Okay, fine, whatever. But yeah, no, that was the Suns game. I didn't even touch that game, to be honest with you. There was just too many injuries to begin with and too many guys in flux. I'm not a big fan of the game's about to start and I have no idea who's playing. Not thrilled about that. So I tend to stay away from those. I didn't even bet on Suns Kings.
Well, the Suns' next game is tomorrow against Oklahoma City. We will definitely need Bradley Beal to play. I mean, honestly, Grayson Allen too.
At the very least, but I think you might also need Grayson.
I think so too. Just with the added level of depth that he gives us, the 3-point shooting, of course. These are all things that with the way Mike Budenholzer runs this offense, we need guys that can make those shots, that can spread the floor. I think Bradley Beal's defense is something that just gets kind of lost in the shuffle. And that was something that we could have used yesterday to help contain De'Aaron Fox and his 29-point explosion. So with that being said, you take a look at what's going on tonight. And as far as basketball goes, there's only one NBA game on, and that is between the Mavericks and the Jazz. I do have some picks for that. We'll get into that later on in the show here. But I just wanted to shout out what I am really excited about tonight in basketball. It's not in the NBA. It's happening in college. And the game that I am talking about specifically is happening here in Phoenix at the Footprint Center between Arizona State and Grand Canyon University. And I will actually be in attendance at this game. Really excited about that. So got to be getting down to the arena in a little bit after we're done with the show here. But anyone that's familiar with these schools, with the teams, that's followed each of these schools over the last 5 years and really kind of knows the context of the programs and the coaches, like this is wide and far the most compelling game between these two schools for basketball that they have ever played. And there's a very long history that goes into this. We're not going to go completely into it. It definitely deals with politics between the two schools. Michael Crow, for the longest time, did not want ASU basketball to even compete against GCU. And then over time, the sentiment on that changed. We finally got to actually see this matchup happen a couple of times. They played one game at GCU during COVID. ASU barely came out of that alive, and not many people could even go to the game because it was COVID. There were, protocols for that. And then the following year, GCU came to Tempe, played at ASU, and that was a game that I was actually at that game. Keon, were you at that one too?
No, I was running the board.
You were running the board.
I remember the game. Yeah.
Right. Because we've talked about this, and that was a crazy game in itself. GCU kept it competitive the whole time. It was like scheduled during ASU's winter break, so hardly any students were there for ASU. GCU brought in more students than ASU had.
The Havoc travel.
Well, and they created a student section on the road that completely outnumbered the home team's own student section. I've never seen that before.
I would, if that ever ends up being a game that ASU hosts, I would ask the Sun Devils to maybe not do that one during Christmas break, because the Havoc travel already, like they are known for that. If you are playing anywhere in this region of the world and they can get to the game, they're going to the game, much less across town. Like that's not even a difficult trip for most of those folks to make. They're crazy about that team. They're incredibly loud, and they could turn your home court into a road game, essentially.
So where I'm getting at here is GCU is a 5.5 point favorite coming
the number went up.
This. The number went up. And this is the first time they've ever been a betting favorite, ahead of this matchup. But part of that is because they are more than likely going to have a home court advantage, even though this game is taking place in Phoenix, which is essentially home field for both schools. There's just one school has a lot more committed students, that care about their team and want to go and see it versus the other. But then you look at the actual teams and the talent and the makeup of each team, and you've got a very veteran built core that's on GCU. They have more continuity. They have more upperclassmen. So you're just playing with older guys that have more physicality than ASU, where their most talented players are skewing more towards, the freshmen, the underclassmen, where they're talented, but they're just young and they're a bit raw. They're inexperienced. So on paper, naturally, there's a lot of things that lean towards GCU's way. I know me personally, ASU is kind of hard to pinpoint at this mark because they actually had a pretty solid outing against Gonzaga. Keon, which way are you leaning in this matchup?
I'm leaning towards GCU. I tend to lean towards experience, and not just experience in terms of the amount of basketball played, which a lot of these GCU starters have, but just the experience of playing in big games. That they made it to the NCAA tournament. They were able to win a game and advance and give themselves a really good chance to beat Alabama, who wound up losing to UConn in that national title game. That and the already experienced GCU Lopes get Tyon Grant Foster back. That was their best player a year ago. this team feels deeper than ASU's team, and it's just that simple for me. I'll be taking the Lopes.
I'm right there with you. I mean, you factor in Jacoby Coles, you've got Ray Harrison, you've got Duke Brennan. Like, there's just so many.
Colin Moore, Luke War off the bench.
These are not rookies. These are not freshmen who have been on a college campus for like a month. I mean, these guys are experienced. They're battle tested. They're proven. They've played competitive college basketball before. They're going to be more prepared for this environment. And I'm excited to go out there and see GCU finally win one of these games. This is going to be a historical moment, quite frankly, for the university. So, Keon, I know we're up against a break here. I do have a betting strategy for this game, so we'll get into that when we come back from the break.
All right, we'll get you that strategy, and then we'll talk Thursday night football, which is right here on the big station. Well, actually, correction, GCU is right here on the big station at 7. Thursday night football is going to be on Money Radio 1510 when that kicks off at 6 p.m. So you can switch over to that if you'd like the football game, at least until GCU comes on, because I just have a feeling like GCU, ASU, you're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Direct savings and client focus, the cornerstones of the Diamond Dave philosophy.
Hi, I'm Diamond Dave Cantor. My team and I at Desert Wholesale Diamond can be your trusted friends with an inside scoop on the diamond world.
Just like they are to thousands of people around the world.
And just like we have been for over 34 years.
At Diamond Dave's, it's all about the diamonds and the savings, not paying for high-end retail locations or the overhead of a mall.
You stand to save big time with our by appointment professional office approach combined with direct importing.
When you choose Diamond Dave's, you choose huge savings, top quality, and excellent service. Call, email, or message us for an in-person appointment.
Or sit back and relax for free FedEx shipping anywhere in the USA.
Call Diamond Dave at 480-397-2450. That's 480-397-2450. Or follow him on Instagram at Diamond Dave Cantor. That's at Diamond Dave, Kantor.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join Medi-Share and save even more than usual. For many families, joining Medi-Share means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people, obviously. But what's more, Medi-Share members like it. Their satisfaction rate is 98%. Imagine that. And Medi-Share is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing. If you join before November 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. So you save even more right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is November 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number, 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE, 855-51-BIBLE.
Oh no, my phone.
Hear that? It's the sound of a skater dropping her phone and smashing it on the ice. Yep, it's definitely broken. But at Verizon, we got you. Black Friday starts now. Trade in any phone, any condition from one of our top brands and get a new Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus on Unlimited Ultimate and Watch 7 and Tab S9 FE 5G. That's up to $1,900 in value. So you'll save big on 3 great gifts. Hurry into Verizon this Black Friday. Service plan required for Watch and Tab. Up to $1,900 value based on phone, watch, and tablet. Trade in and additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Hey, sweetie, what you doing?
Looking around for jobs, offices, 9 to 5. I don't want anything boring.
You know, Brian's daughter's in the Phoenix Police Academy. Pretty sure she's not bored.
I never thought of that.
Check out joinphxpd.com and take a look.
Over 80 specialty details like detective and canine handler. What else? Dignitary protection, 911 operator. They have aviation and dive team jobs. What?
Rise to serve. Find more today at joinphxpd.com. Protect and serve with the elite.
Sponsored by the City of Phoenix.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
And we are back. We were talking a little GCU and ASU, and Dylan might have a betting strategy there for you to make a little bit of money on this game because GCU, the favorite team in this matchup, Dylan.
Well, and for good reason, which, we kind of went through the context on that in the first segment there. So before we move over to the Thursday night football game, I just wanted to shout something out that I noticed on FanDuel. If you go into the ASU and GCU game on FanDuel, you'll notice towards the top with the different options for what you can bet on there. There's an option that says margin, and you can wager on the win margin for either team. How many points are they ultimately going to win by? Similar to a spread bet, but it's just structured a little differently. So in this case, we feel pretty good about GCU. We've explained why we feel good about GCU. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty confident on betting on GCU to win. But if you look at where the line is right now, it's currently priced at minus 215 for GCU on the money line. If you want to take them on the spread, then they have to win by 6 points or more. And then you're looking at a payout that's like just a hair under 1-to-1. So if instead of betting GCU to win by 6 or more, or just betting on them to win in general, a different way that you could approach this would be to go over to that win margin option. And then you'll see there's 2 different options you have here. You can bet on GCU to win by 1 through 10 points, or you can bet on GCU to win by 11 or more points. And then they have those same options available for ASU as well. So in this case, if you were to put equal wagers on GCU to win by 1 through 10 or GCU to win by 11 plus, then you're going to walk away with profit no matter what the win margin is. GCU can then win by 11 plus points, or GCU can win by anywhere between 1 to 10. And this, in essence, is a similar way to bet on GCU to win on the money line, but you're getting a better payout for it. So me personally, like if someone was twisting my arm and they're like, how much is GCU going to win by? I'd probably go in that 1 to 10 margin. I do think that that's most likely to hit, but you can put money because of how this is priced right now. 1 to 10 is paying plus 165, 11 plus is paying plus 200. So 2 to 1. And then that first one's paying a little bit over 1.5 to 1. You can take $20. You can put $10 on plus 165. You can put $10 on plus 200. And if they win by 1 to 10, you're going to be walking away with $26.50. If they win by 11 plus, you're going to be walking away with $30. Either way, you've won some money there. So just to try and kind of paint the picture of how that'll work in your favor.
And so there you go. Hopefully that betting strategy helps somebody. I know it's going to help me. I'm going to use that as I bet tonight, because I do believe the GCU Lopes have the edge in this game. So let's turn our eyes a little bit towards Thursday night football, because we've got a great matchup. Again, that's going to be on Money Radio 1510 right after the Daily Blender. You can just change over to there if you want to hear that game and hear that broadcast. And then, GCU starts at 7 if you want to just come back and check that out as well. Maybe jump back and forth between the two, because I don't know that those commercial breaks are lined up. Just a tip. Just a giving you a little advice over there for navigating the radio airwaves. So in this game, we've got 2 high-powered offenses kind of going back and forth here. We've got Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley for Philly. We've got Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin in Washington. And then 2 defenses that, Philly has tightened up their defense. They're pretty all-around good. And then the Commanders have played much better defense as of late. This game is a home game for the Commanders. They are playing at FedEx Field. And what are you looking out for in this game? Because there's a lot of options.
There's I'm trying to kind of simulate this almost like in my head, and I see so many different paths that this game could take. We were talking about the weather coming into it, and there is an expectation of some rain. It so far doesn't seem like it's going to be very heavy. Doesn't seem like it's going to be, lasting throughout the entire game. So it doesn't shy me away too much from the passing game. But then you start to look at both of these teams on paper and kind of where they rank defensively. And on paper, the Eagles are like a defensive juggernaut. They're like top 5 rushing defense, passing defense. Washington also brings a pretty good defense to the table. But their rushing defense isn't quite as good as their passing defense. So, when I'm trying to, figure out, what's the angle here and trying to take the weather into account, first and foremost, if I had to pick a winner, I'd pick the Commanders, because I just really like where their value is for being an underdog when this is clearly going to be a very close competitive game. I think no one's going to really dispute that. The Commanders on the money line right now, they're paying almost 2-1. Right now on FanDuel, they're plus 176. But if you look over at the spread is 3.5. And Keon, you and I, we were looking at all these different games that the Commanders have played this season, and the majority of their 10 games so far are games that were decided by one score, where it's literally coming down to that final drive. It might be a field goal that ends it. It might be a touchdown that ends it. So I look at that 3.5, and this could very well be a game where, the Eagles get that final drive and maybe they're kicking a field goal to win at the buzzer, or perhaps it's the Commanders in that situation.
Yeah.
Either way, I like the security of plus 3.5 for the Commanders. That's probably my absolute favorite bet in this game overall.
Right.
When you're looking at player props, this is where that weather's going to come into effect a little bit more. Jalen Hurts and Jayden Daniels right now, their lines on passing yards are very similar. They're both hovering very close to around 225. Jayden Daniels has this ability to go out and win games, almost similar to Kyler Murray, where he doesn't need passing yards to accomplish it. He might just rack them up on the side, just cause.
Yeah.
But he can go out and throw 200 passing yards and win a game, no problem.
Yeah, the running game for Washington overall is just good enough that if he picks his spots and he's very decisive passing the football, then there's no reason why, this couldn't be a game they win where he's passing for 200, maybe 210. And then, part of that, and I think the comparison to Kyler is pretty apt here, is that they're great on the ground. Both of these guys can run and do enough to pick up first downs and move the chains. And I also think Brian Robinson coming back for Washington is going to help. The last couple of games, they've really missed him. Not to the point where they were out of those games, but I think that he makes those short yardage situations, I think, very, very efficient for Washington. They can, if they're ever on a 3rd and 3, they know they can just give it to Brian Robinson, and that's pretty much good for a first down. They can rely on that in a way that they have to be a little bit different scheme wise. If Eckler is the lead guy out there, they also have to do a bunch of different stuff, because Eckler can still run the ball pretty well, but he's a better receiver than he is a runner at this point in his career. So I think that Washington's ability to run the ball does lend itself towards Jayden Daniels being a winner with maybe just 200 yards passing.
So, that being said, I'm definitely leaning more towards playing a passing yards prop on Jalen Hurts versus Jayden Daniels, just because I don't really feel that comfortable on either side. You could take under 224, and maybe this is just a shootout that could even go into overtime, and then at that point, 224 doesn't feel very safe if you're going under. And then likewise, if you're going over, just like how you said, maybe it's just not one of those games for Jayden. Jalen Hurts feels a lot more secure, especially with just the difference in, how good these defenses are. And, obviously Eagles being at home, definitely like Jalen Hurts for 225 plus passing yards.
And he's got better weapons. Just quite frankly, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are better. If you ranked all the receivers in this game, they would be those two, then Terry McLaurin. And then I don't know. It doesn't really matter what you do after that. But they have the two best receivers in the game. I would assume that against this secondary, Jalen's got a chance to really go off.
There was another interesting stat about Jalen that we uncovered when we were doing our due diligence about how we were going to recommend bets for this game. And if you look at Jalen Hurts' rushing statistics, this man has 8 rushing touchdowns in the last 4 games.
It's unbelievable.
And look, we all know about the tush push. The Eagles have a play that is designed and patented for Jalen Hurts to get a touchdown if the situation presents itself. So there's a little bit something extra that kind of goes into that.
But the fact is, they've got to get into the red zone first to use it. It's not magic. They still have to get there, and they have been getting there.
So, you're just looking at touchdown scores for today. Jalen Hurts minus 120 anytime touchdown.
It's just a little short of even value. It's probably not the worst play and if you parlay that with something else, that might be really nice.
That would be the way that I would leverage that prop. But I do like it. Look, 8 touchdowns in 4 games, that just says something. I'll ride that train until it falls off.
Yeah, until he can't do it anymore. And in fact, he might have to fail to do that for a couple of games in a row before I decide, okay, I don't know if I can necessarily lean into this, but their offense is just built around the ground game, and Jalen is just such a huge part of that. Like, why wouldn't you?
Now, I do want to bring something up because this is something that I tried to bet last week and I got burned doing it. So that is playing into how I feel about this prop right now. Saquon Barkley, rushing yards. His line is rather high, 93.5.
It's tough.
And I mean, this is a guy that can very easily rack up triple digit rushing yards. I mean, he's got 3 games of 100 plus rushing yards out of his last 4. And obviously last week when they were at Dallas, that looked even juicier because they're at Dallas and he has 3 straight games of 100 plus rushing yards. His line was basically the same last week. I took his over. He ends with 66.
He ends with 66. Now, part of this too is when you're looking at Dallas in particular, what is Dallas even good at defensively? Like nothing. Literally, it just doesn't look like they're good at anything. Whereas Washington somehow turned their horrific pass defense into a top 5 passing defense, which I'm not sure how that happened or when or why, but they can still be run on. But if you have to pick your poison against this Washington defense, you'd rather just run the ball at them and see if they can stop you, especially if Philadelphia gets the lead. Now you're running the ball and you're burning clock at the same time. It just seems like that's the logical way to go here. Saquon is more likely to hit that 93 in this game than he was against Dallas, just because you could do whatever you wanted. You didn't have to run the ball if you didn't want to. That being said, you know, Jalen has a tendency sometimes when he's really going to cannibalize some of those yards because he can run and move the chains as well.
Well, and that's what feeds into this really tricky dynamic with this particular prop. And rather than taking Saquon on yards, what may ultimately be a safer move would actually be to look to take his rushing attempts instead. And if you look at Saquon Barkley and just his history and his trends right now with the carries, I mean, he does have a number of games where he's getting well over 20 carries in a game. Then he's got a handful where he's getting 18 or less. And his line on carries tonight, I believe that is 18.5. So, they're drawing it at a place where it's not a very easy decision. But what I like about this matchup more so than the Cowboys last week, and this is what really hurt Saquon, was that the Cowboys defense, just like you said, like there's so many different ways that you can attack those guys that the Eagles got up big and then they didn't need to play any of their starters in the 4th. So that hurt them. I don't see this game getting that out of hand. So now you're going to get hopefully a full game of Barkley, and then also take that into account where last week he didn't even play a full game. He got to take,
he didn't have to,
much of the second half off, really. So, maybe he's coming in a little fresh because of that. But either way, his rushing attempts, if you look to take his over there, he doesn't even need to get 20 to hit. He needs 19. So, with the rain coming into effect, with this hopefully being a more competitive, closer game, I definitely like that over 18.5 on Barkley rushing attempts, more so than trying to hit him getting another 100-yard rushing game.
Yeah, like I think he is going to have a good game rushing the football. Obviously, the anytime touchdowns there, but I think that if you do take Saquon rushing yards, maybe pull that number down a little bit to maybe a more reasonable location, whichever spot feels very comfortable to you. Okay, so that's it for the Thursday night football talk. We might touch a little bit on the other side, but we're going to spend some time on the other side looking at other bets to make for today, because there is at least one basketball game going on, and that's the specialty of one Dylan Cohen. So we'll give you that going on. And do we have a long shot today? Like just
let me see what I can put
all
together.
right. So DC is going to cook up something during the break potentially. Because honestly, the people get excited about the long shot parlay, and since he didn't post one, I just figure you might as well.
Let's give the people what they want.
Yeah, and then maybe put that up on the Instagram as well, just for the folks that don't get to text in during the show. Because there were some people in the blender yesterday going, well, where was my long shot parlay? So we had to figure out a way to get them that, and we were able to do it. So you're listening to Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Sports betting apps are not created equal. Dylan Cohen from Beat the Book here to talk about the Sport Trade advantage. With higher payouts, Sport Trade is the ultimate sports betting experience. Sport Trade is the first sports betting app that gives you the option to see the odds expressed as probabilities, and it's changing in-game betting forever. If it's easier to understand 52% probability of winning versus minus 108 odds, then Sport Trade is for you. With this percent odds feature, cashing out now makes much more sense. As the win probability changes, so does the value of your bet. And if you're an experienced bettor and prefer American odds, you'll get pricing closer to minus 106 versus the normal minus 110, coupled with instant in-play betting. No more spinny wheels. So download Sport Trade today to see the difference and beat the book. Use promo code 1580 to earn 10% cash back on every bet you place in your first week. Terms apply.
Sport Trade is regulated by the Arizona Department of Gaming. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP.
Let's say you've got questions. You're looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Well, Harman Solar has the answers. Hi, I'm Jeffrey O'Brien, and listen, there's a couple of ways you can go here. One, visit harmansolar.com, browse around, because right across the page, they got links to all sorts of great information, like frequently asked questions, equipment, tax credits, even testimonials. Or just give them a call. 800-281-3189. Ask them directly. They'd love to hear from you. That's 800-281-3189. Or just go to harmansolar.com.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up. I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code YEAR to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
We know how it goes. You can't always tune in and hear your favorite shows and hosts.
Dude, look, I'm a loser. Okay?
It's cool, bro. That's why we post podcasts of your favorite shows and hosts. Listen when you want to. Listen on demand.
That is great and frankly kind of amazing.
Go to 1580thefanatic.com to download.
NFL football tonight on 1510 AM Money Radio. Go ahead and check that out at game time. Not right now. You're just going to get financial news and things like that. But later, we have football. Also later today on 1580 The Fanatic, we've got GCU basketball. That game tips off at 7 p.m. If you want to catch the broadcast live, because I know almost nobody that I know is going to that game. Obviously, Dylan, you are, but man, that game sold out. you were not getting tickets to that particular arena. That's the Footprint Center, neutral site game, GCU, ASU, GCU, the favorite team. Now, let's take a look at some of the other bets that you can make today, and maybe we can touch back on that as well.
Well, actually, one other person, just going back to the football game that we didn't have a chance to talk about, and I know this is someone that I'm assuming you'd be pretty passionate to speak about here. Terry McLaurin, on the Washington Commanders, having a heck of a season for him right now.
Scary Terry.
There is a bet that I like for Scary Terry in this game tonight. Just looking over the receiver props right now and looking at what Scary Terry has done as of recently, there is a play to make on receptions for Terry McLaurin. If you look at his last 5 games, in 4 out of his last 5 games, he has caught 5 receptions or more. His line on receptions tonight is sitting at 4.5. And just being the primary target for Jaden Daniels out there, is it realistic that we can continue to see this trend go on for Scary Terry? You think he's good for 5 receptions?
I think he is. He's like you said, he's Jaden's favorite target. Scary Terry, the guy works more like a tight end sometimes, in that he feels like the most secure option throwing the football. He's the best contested catch receiver in the league, probably through the years of being forged, catching passes from Dwayne Haskins and, Taylor Heineke, and like guys that just were trying but could not get him the football. Josh Johnson, like just a group. Mark Sanchez threw passes to Terry McLaurin. Genuinely. Like he's been catching passes from all of these guys. Jaden's the best quarterback he's ever had, and it shows. They've got a real connection that they've been building throughout the season. It started off pretty rough. The Tampa Bay game, Terry didn't really get any targets in that game, I don't think. And then by the time you got to, a week ago, that's the guy that Jaden trusts the most, that if I don't know where to go with the football, I can throw it up to Terry and trust that he'll make a play and figure out a way to come down with it. And I think that lends itself to him getting a lot of receptions, and they trust him even more in the red zone.
Well, there you go. So that would be the other player prop bet for the football game tonight that I would consider making there. Terry McLaurin for 5 or more receptions. It's paying very close to even money right now on FanDuel, so that is another good one to consider. Now, we do have one NBA game on the slate tonight. It's between the Dallas Mavericks and the Utah Jazz. And I mean, the Mavericks are a heavy favorite in this for good reason. The Jazz don't have any true intentions to win this season. They're trying to position themselves for a good draft pick for the draft class that's coming in for next year. So, clearly Mavericks are going to have the edge. They're in a little bit of a tailspin, though. They've lost a handful of games recently, so they're getting a little desperate for a win here. They've lost 3 out of their last 4. Kyrie Irving is questionable tonight. He's got a shoulder injury. PJ Washington is doubtful. Luka Doncic is probable to play. So this could very well be one of those games where Luka is just, he's tired of losing. He's going to take full control. I mean, it could present itself in the form of a 35-point game, a 40-point game. I mean, we saw all these players go off just last night.
Yeah, also a triple-double. That also could be what it looks like.
Could be that way as well. Luka's line on points tonight is 30.5. I would feel comfortable playing that over. He just had 31 against the Warriors, so especially if he's got no Kyrie Irving tonight, you'll see that line move up quite a bit if Kyrie is ruled out. So there is some value on getting on Luka's points right now. But someone else that I wanted to shout out before we get into the long shot parlay that I just cooked up here is John Collins on the Utah Jazz. John Collins has very quietly been balling lately, and you don't hear a lot of people shouting this out. We know this being Suns fans because he just dropped 29 points on us the other night, but he's got a 28-point game against the Bulls going back to Monday, November 4th. So 2 out of his last 4 games, he scored 28 or more points. If PJ Washington is not playing tonight, that would be the person that he would match up against typically. So he's going to be playing someone that's lesser than who Dallas would normally start on him defensively. This definitely feels like a spot where he's playing at home. He's had some big games lately. This could be another one where John Collins goes off and he has a really big game. His line on points was at 15.5. You can take him for 15 plus points on FanDuel, and it's paying just a little bit higher than minus 150. So that's another, good player prop to be able to leverage in a parlay. So I wanted to get that out of the way because John Collins is on this long shot parlay that I'm going to go through right now. Because we're only working with so many games here, I'm not just going to throw stuff on here that I don't know anything about. That's getting a little too degenerate for me.
You had to have limits somewhere.
Yeah, no. I mean, look. I mean, this parlay is for entertainment, but we want to keep it within reason here. We are trying to win these. So this is a 3-leg parlay. I will post this on the Beat the Book Instagram if you don't get all of it right now. So you'll be able to have that visual to refer to shortly. The parlay is for Jalen Hurts to score 2 or more touchdowns tonight against the Commanders at plus 500. John Collins to score 25 or more points tonight against the Mavericks at plus 460. And then GCU win margin by 1 to 10 points at plus 170. If you put all 3 of those together on a 3-leg parlay, it pays plus 8,972, which is just under 90 to 1 on the payout. So $5 pays $453.60. That is the long shot parlay for today. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow. That's when we'll have Alex Kane back on the program. Definitely text us tomorrow. Let us know if you end up winning this. We're going to be going crazy if this thing hits. And there's another Sport Trade contest giveaway. So don't miss out on partaking in that. Alex will go over the rules tomorrow.
Yeah, and by the way, if you alter the long shot parlay like some of you did, let us know that too. We like to see how you guys think and like what you're really looking at when you guys are watching sports, because it helps us learn some stuff too. So that'll do it for us today. You're listening to Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic. Tonight, we have Thursday Night Football, but it's not going to be on 1580. It's going to be on 1510 Money Radio. And we've got GCU basketball right here on 1580 The Fanatic.